I'm Kelly.
I'm Rich.
And we are Wonderbus Adventures. Today we are going to be trying our hands at four-way stretched carpet.
Also messing up the front of our nice new cupboard.
Installing some new stuff.
Wiring in our pyjamas.
And comparing our minis amps to our bus. Please stick around to see that and more, and leave us a comment below because we love reading them.
The fact that we decided to buy an old Mercedes Vario basically means that we don't have any modern entertainment system at all. No radio, no speakers, no reversing camera, none of that good stuff. So to progress with that, the first thing that we need to do is decide where we're going to put all of that stuff, starting with the speakers. Dug out the old compass. This is actually Kelly's from when she was at school, so this is like over 20 years old. Just to mark up on the back where the speaker hole is going to come through on the front of our panel. Big shout out to Ian Morg for pointing out and spotting that we might do this. Great minds think alike. So we've got a centre point here that I'm going to drill through with a hole saw, which is 140mm for our chosen speakers. Now we've gone for some component speakers, which won't interest everyone, but in a nutshell basically means the woofer and the tweeter are separate, which just gives us slightly better sound, and they're not that much dearer, but I've decided to go that route. So yeah, we've got these measured out now, ready to drill through. I'm happy with where they're going to go. So I'm just going to drill through. Now what I've decided to do, I could have done this with in a number of ways. So I could have used a Dremel on the jig, I could have used router, could have used jigsaw, but because I've got 4 speakers that I know are going to be this size, I've just decided to buy a hole saw for the sake of, I think, 13 quid. I'm hoping it's just going to be quicker and save me time. Bit of a cop out, but I know that I'm going to get, hopefully, a proper good circle. Swap the electric one before I kill another drill. So with the first one, I left this little spring on, and that's what caused it to jump out. Second one, it didn't do it, which is cool. Does mean I've got a little bit of sanding and filling to do on the front of that. But never mind, we will prevail. Now, if you are human like me and you make mistakes, you might have a scratch like this caused by drilling out a hole. You might not ever do this, so disregard if not. I'm going to repair this now because I know that the paint will probably cover this. Just to make doubly sure, I'm going to do a little quick repair, and it's dead simple. Which involves mixing up some wood glue and some of this leftover sawdust and smearing it in between those jagged edges. So I've already sanded out the edges to make them as smooth as I can be. I'm going to fill that now with the glue and sawdust paste and let that dry, and then I'll sand that back, and when I've primed it, I promise you we will never have known that it was there. Obviously, if this was going to be left in its natural state, stained or varnished, I would have not been able to get out of this and would need to be recutting it, but it's fine, it's not the end of the world. It's just a little bit of sawdust and wood glue, a little bit of patience to let it dry, and then we'll sand it back. Yeah, pretty pleased with that actually. We were worried it would look a bit crap having the speakers either side, but I think it's going to look good. And it will save us valuable space in the cupboard also. Space for crap. It's Tuesday. I'm just coming out for like 10 minutes during my lunch break to have a look at that repair, and it's gone obviously as you'd expect. You know, 2 days later it's gone off rock hard. I'm just going to give it a sand down and then we can see how it turns out. You can see here that these stripy bits are filled in now. Still a little bit, couple of rough edges, but I'm confident when I prime and undercoat that's going to fill that, and I can always give that a light sand when we're in there doing that. But you can see here that all of these little bits here are all filled in and smooth now, which is good. But you can also see if this was to be left as wood, I wouldn't have got away with it. But we can give that a clean up now, make sure it's dust free, and then give that a prime. See what we get away with. So I'm using Dulux wood primer and undercoat on this. So I've sanded it back as you saw earlier. We're gonna go over with a quick coat of this tonight on one side, and tomorrow I can go over on the other and then flip it back over and do it again. Should have tried to get out here earlier, but like I say, just isn't always practical to do that, unfortunately. I would love to be doing my van build full time. I really would. I really would love that. But I need the money to pay for the bloody van build in the first place, so have to work. Bloody economy. Who invented it? Rude if you ask me. Okay, so that's one coat done. Get the rest of the coats on. So I'm going to give it another coat tomorrow. It takes 4 hours to dry, so another coat tomorrow. Both sides, will try and get a couple of coats on, and then we'll be ready for the top coat. And in between, I'm going to try and get this paint finish as smooth as I can. What I'm going to try and do between the coats, especially between the undercoat and the top coat, is I'm going to rub it down with some very fine sanding paper. I ordered a Diddy subwoofer to go in this box. I ordered one that was 6.75 inches, and it's just arrived, and it's not the one I ordered. They've sent me a bigger one. It's still a shallow sub though, and it's 8 inches, 20 centimeters, if you want to think of it in that. So I'm just going to see if it will work. I think I can still fit it here. So we've got this going on in here, which will be inside the box, which is not ideal, but we should be able to make good space. A good space? We should be able to make good use of this space. We'll fill this up with some nice foam material to create basically a baffled sub box, if it will fit. Yeah, after a little bit of tinkering, it will work. So in this box up here, I had a sensor that is broken actually, that would tell me whether the door is open or closed. It's never worked. It doesn't work. I was going to replace it anyway with something that will be actually on here and on the frame of the door anyway. So I'm going to take that out, make that wiring redundant and safe. Taking that out has given me space here to put the woofer in. So I'm going to chop the hole for that out next. So it comes with this, which is like a template in itself in the box. I'm just going to actually do this, even with perforated, I do need to cut that out. And I can just use that as a rough guide, cutting around for this up.
Another template, mate.
No, do you want a circle?
Yeah.
Thought you might.
What you can make out of it?
Just watch.
Pardon?
Just watch.
Trial fitted up here now. It fits, which is good because we ordered a 6.75 inch subwoofer and they sent us an 8-inch one by accident, which is fine because I've made it work. Cut the hole now. I'm just going to drill out the mounting holes and then we can screw this back in and carpet it.
And here is the middle part of it.
That's for you, isn't it? Oh gosh, it is heavy.
Well, I made into a sundial.
Nice.
So today we're going to try and tackle the four-way carpet, aren't we?
On here, maybe
Here.
on here.
But when you've got a kid in the mix, you never know.
Yes, I am terrible. We bought it from Amazon. It's a nice design. It's like a mild design, and we initially actually tried to make a little template out of some
Paper that come in an Amazon box.
but it didn't really work out. So what we're going to do is measure the extreme depth, so the biggest depth and the biggest height, and then make a rough cut first. That's what we're going to do first.
Okay, so I've covered part of the windscreen and I've taped around this window just in case I spray any contact adhesive on it. This stuff, trim fix adhesive. So I'm going to pretend to be Spider-Man. Right, and I think I'm going to start by gluing along this edge of the door and the edge of the carpet and attach that first. Okay, I've also glued the edge of this. Now I'm going to try and stick them together. So it's just me recording, so hopefully you'll be able to see. It used to be a mouse house, and now it's full of evil.
Doing this bit first. If we can get this bit right, the rest of the bus is going to be dead simple. Kelly's getting high on glue.
Yeah.
It doesn't smell that bad. We've got a door seal that I've stuck on the face of this. And what I'm doing, just the technique I'm using, this is the first time I've done this, so we'll see how it goes. But basically what I'm doing is popping my knife right on the bleeding edge of this and I'm running it all the way down. And then what I'm finding is happening, hopefully, is that it will go in behind this seal. So the trick is not to cut the seal, to get in and behind it, and then it should sit in there. So that's what I'm attempting to do. That's that edge done. So okay, I'm pretty pleased with that. It looks neat enough. I'm just gonna eat my lunch and then we'll crack on with cutting the inside out. And I'm gonna seal up my sub box and carpet that. Do much dressmaking.
Well, that's what I do when I'm doing fabric.
Whenever you're making dresses.
No, but like when I
For little Ginger.
Yeah, it makes me do that. It makes me cry because it's so tiny. No, but like when I was like amending the curtains and stuff, use chalk on the back, obviously. So good old Lil lending us some chalk.
Can't see your black pants.
Nothing wrong with a bit of BPL, mate. Hang on, there's some spider webs here. De-spidering. Really adds to it, I feel. Don't actually want to be Spider-Man. Oh, get it off.
For that amplifier, for the subwoofer, this nonsense thing that we never thought we would put in, we need to drop the voltage from the batteries. So there's a few ways you could do this, some that are straightforward, but there's compromises with it. So there's 2 batteries in this bus wired in series, which creates our 24 volt connection. Now the 2 individual batteries are 12 volt, so I could just take a feed off of that. If I did that though, it would mean that you'd be getting a draw off just one of the batteries. You could therefore do a jumper cable across the 2, but then you end up with a similar problem. So what I'm going to do is actually run a second voltage dropper. So there's one that Mercedes supply, which is good, gives a 5 amp output that I'm going to put back in for the radio and all of that stuff, and then that'll be fine. But for the amplifier, because it draws a much higher wattage, I need a dedicated one. So what I'm going to do is run some twin 50 amp cable from my batteries, and that way we've got the power that we need for the amplifier, but at the same time there won't be a parasitic draw on one side of the battery, because we don't want that, or we don't want to be waking up and finding out one of our batteries is kaput and we can't go anywhere because we didn't wire it up properly. So what I'm doing now is running this cable, so when the voltage dropper arrives I can install that in behind the dashboard, and that way I guess if we wanted to run anything else that's 12 volt off of the system we could, but we're not probably going to, but the option's there if we need to do that. Let's run now. Comes all the way up in here. Got the glove box out. Comes up in here. I think this is where I'm going to put the voltage dropper, but likewise I could end up putting it up here, but either way the cable's run now all the way back to the battery box where I can connect it up. It's just got to wait for the converter to arrive tomorrow. In my Mini I've got 2 amplifiers. I've got a Genesis Profile 2 amp running my subs, so I've got 4 subs in this thing, yes 4, and then I've got a Profile 4 that are running my component speakers at the front. So I've got components in the door and tweeters in the dashboard, and that's in my Mini. So what are we planning to put in the bus? Well, let me tell you, it's much smaller. We were never planning on putting an amplifier or a sub in this thing. We were going to go very simple and keep the head unit powering it all. What we actually ended up doing is I've bought a new head unit to power 2 16.5 centimeter speakers at the front and 2 tweeters, which have got crossovers, which I'll show you shortly. We're going to have 2 speakers at the back, probably coaxial speakers, larger, powered from the head unit. They'll all be powered from the head unit, no problem. Now the subwoofer needs its own amplifier, and we wanted to keep the footprint for that down, and we found this amazing little product. It's very highly rated from Vibe, British company, made in China, and in this tiny footprint they've managed to pack in an 800 watt amplifier, bus at 1 ohm. We're going to run it at either 2 or 4 ohms actually, when we wire up our subwoofer, because the sub that we've got, 8-inch sub, is good for 300 watt RMS and 600 watt peak. So we're going to want to run this amp not at its full capacity, because we don't need to, and that'll give us plenty of punch for what we want, because again we're not going to be playing it super loud. We just want it to be a bit clearer, and give us some nice tunes as we're driving along or parked up really. So we're going to install that now, get the cables in and get this put in situ before we put the front back on the cabinets, because this is going to be stored up in our shelf. I also need to make sure I run some cable down for my tweeters. So I'm going to put the tweeters in the factory position in here. This is where your normal 10cm speakers would have been, but I've taken mine out because they weren't working anyway. I could use the factory wiring that's there, but I'm going to run some of this because I've got it hanging about from actually when I did the Mini. And this is Amazon basic stuff, and it's oxygen free cable and works just as well as cable that's probably much more expensive. So yeah, very high rated, would recommend. This incredible nest of wires needs to go from being this length to about this length here. So I'm just going to spend a bit of time chopping them up, redoing them. Now the ones that I know need to be permanently connected, I'm going to solder them up. So the type of things you're thinking about is the ones that you know you can unplug from something and plug it back in. The ones where for things like the fan and things like that, I'm actually going to put on bullet connectors, because that way if I need to take the fan out, I can disconnect the wire in without having to cut it again in the future. So 2 different methods. I'm just going to try and get on removing this. How much do you reckon it'll weigh when I take it all out? Place your bets now. I'm just fixing this. This is the fan that came out of it originally. That's the reason I bought the bus actually. I was going to replace it, but then we're going to see if it still works. We're just trying to pull it through up into the parcel shelf, and someone's like tremendous strength managed to pull it off of the...
It was me.
Yeah. So I'm just going to clean the old solder off of this connector, solder it back on, and hopefully we can see if it works. That's what we're doing at the moment.
You screwed back in, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm just wiring this one up. I'm just going through it one thing at a time. Let's see if we can get it all neat.
So Rich, what are you doing at 8 o'clock on Monday night in your pyjamas?
8 o'clock, right, bedtime. So, we bought an aftermarket stereo, and I'm just modifying it. So I've cut the block off of it because the factory loom that we've got is like stuffed, and we only want to actually use the ignition live and the earth from it. The rest of it, we're going to wire to various other speaker wires. So I'm going to just use these bullet connectors to do that. And we're watching a bit of TV at the same time, and I'm in my pyjamas.
Sat on Lily's little chair.
And that's what's going on right now. Mercy bus.
Mercy bus. Already got paint on my phone, mercy bus.
We've decided to do a bit more painting because we want to finish the front. So we're going to paint up to the next set of boards, because at the back we still think we're not going to paint it. So doing this now up to here, between here and here, is not going to make any difference to that. But Kelly's going to get on with that. I've got to go back to work. We use wood, primer and undercoat. Are you getting on, babe?
Good, nearly got the first coat on. I think it looks patchy at the moment.
It's like a zebra.
Yeah. But I have to do a hard bit in a minute round those poles. No, not poles. Are they wires? Only conduit. I don't know why I called it poles.
Conduit we moved 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And now it's still in the way.
Yeah.
Classic.
That's
Looking good.
Isn't it? Looks okay, I think.
Yeah, it looks really patchy at the moment, but it's the first coat, always does.
Oh, if you're wondering why I'm using a tiny roller, I did start using the bigger roller, but it wasn't covering as well, and plus it was a bit heavy for me. So I'm doing it with a baby roller.
It's not the size of the hammer, it's how you hit the nail, isn't it, Cal?
Yeah. We're really pleased with the amount that we've managed to get done this week, and we think the ceiling's looking quite good white, even though we've already done 2 prime coats at the moment.
We're really happy that the subwoofer is ready to go in, and we've started to get that wiring tidied up, ready to install our new radio and amplifier.
Hopefully next time. I hope you have a wonderful week, and leave us a comment below, let us know what you've been up to. We'll see you soon.
Thanks guys.
1, 2, 3.
Bye!